Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to another installment of Flyer Gonna Flyer. This is now our 19th episode of said show. Joining me is one of my two gracious co-hosts, Eric, aka Filibuster 10. Eric, how you doing today, bud?
I'm doing great. Nice and rest and relax and from my vacation and ready to talk more Flyers.
Absolutely. You know what? I'm jealous of you and envious. Going to Florida, middle of November, getting away from all this garbage weather is
Oh
nothing
yeah,
better than that. Having a little vacation like that.
that's
Also, ladies and gentlemen, our other co-host Jamey will not be joining us this week. He's dealing with a personal loss within his family. Jamey, we love you. Wishing the best to your family. Look forward to seeing you again on Wednesday with that awesome upbeat attitude you always have towards life. So, Jamey, keep pushing forward. We love you, man. Here at the Pucking Around podcast crew with Flyera Gonna Flyera. Just want to give you that little shout out again, brother. You're the best. Keep on chugging forward in life. You always have your friends, and family who support you. That was a tongue twister.
yeah. It's just same. Hopefully, he's doing well, and we'll be glad to have him back on Wednesday.
Yep. So we're dedicating this episode to Jamey and his family because he's had a rough year. So we see you. We'll see you next week, bud. We love you, brother. But anyway, let's move on. We had another interesting week in Flyerland. 2 games played, 2 dubs. Is this team starting to turn a corner? So games against the Sharks and Senators. You look at the Sharks, not exactly a competitive team, really. A team in the rebuild, arguably one of, if not the worst decor in hockey, and the team that is going to be garbage this year and next, probably the year after still too. That's a long build that they're having there. And then Ottawa, a team that has given them fits over the last handful of years, especially ever since Claude Giroux joined that team. That game's always circled on my calendar for obvious reasons, as I just mentioned. It's given this team, like I just mentioned, some real issues, but Flyers came out on this with 2 wins. So let's start with the Sharks game. Eric, I'm going to let you lead off this game. What'd you see in that game?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I didn't watch either game because I was kind of stuck in the middle of the ocean.
Fair enough. That's a fair point.
But look, I did like a little research into both games and see what was going on, what happening, and listen, San Jose, that had to be a win. Like even though we're not, we're not a top team this year, but like San Jose is like the worst team in the league right now, and like you have to beat San Jose. And look, we won. That's great. We won in a shootout, but at the end of the day, we had a 3-goal lead on them, and we let it disappear. Like not like you can't do that against San Jose. Like you can't. And look, we took a bunch of shots. And again, like the second period was another negative second period. That's another constant issue that all season is these negative second periods. Now it wasn't as bad. It was only -1, but still. So yeah, and Michkov's first game back and goal and assist, so that's good to see. I was I put this nicely, extremely pissed that he was scratched at that Florida
That
game.
makes 2 of us and a lot of others. Believe me, Jamey went on a tirade last week about it.
I know.
I was with him.
I heard. Yeah, I listened to it. I listened to the pod from last week. I heard Jamey, and he made some great points, 100%. And like, if he would have been scratched for a third game, I think that it would have really started to get concerning with Torts and him and everything. But like, listen, he had a great game coming back, goal and assist. Like I said, happy to see. Like, really sad that I couldn't see him against Florida. But one thing I'd have to say though, the game that I went to in Florida was a great game. Honestly, I couldn't have asked for more. It was we were on our seats the whole game, and I'm sorry, but that puck hit the netting. It was clear. I was sitting right there. I saw it. It hit the netting. And then I'm like, I was actually thinking, I was like, why did they stop the play? And then, like, if you notice for like a split second, the players had stopped playing. Anyway, let's go.
No, I don't blame you, rant, please, because that did hit the netting. I know exactly.
Yeah, right. And like the worst part was I had my 2 cousins with me, and they're both Florida fans, and actually, well, former Boston fans. Now since they live in Florida, they're now all of a sudden Florida Panthers fans. But okay, whatever. And but no, they're both turning to me like, yeah, that hit the net. But anyway, yeah, and then look, the Ottawa game. Personally, I think Ottawa's a really good team, and I really like Ottawa's. And like you said, they always give us fits. And look, I don't know. I written it down here somewhere. They had 6 shots when TK scored that goal. I think that made it that second goal. They had 6 shots. They were being shot. What was it? 20? I think it was 27-6. It was something insane. Like
It was 26-4 at one point.
oh,
Not just 27-6.
This has been a huge problem all season. I don't know why we have these terrible starts, or we're not ready to play. Were we overconfident from beating San Jose in a shootout? Like, come on, guys, come on. As far as I heard, look again, 'cause I didn't watch it. I heard Fedotov had a real good game, so that's really good to hear. I watched a bit of the highlights. He made some key saves and key moments
Oh, sure.
to actually give us a chance. And again, watching the highlights, also like I think Olmark had a terrible. It looked like Olmark must have had a terrible game because at least 3 of those goals I think were extremely savable. So yeah, that's so far. That's my opinion on the past 2 games. Your thoughts, man?
I'm going to go a little more in depth with these. So we'll start with San Jose. So obviously the Flyers came off a 3-game road trip prior to that where they played pretty well. Got 3 points out of a possible 6. Probably should have got more. They should have at least got 1 in Carolina, but besides the point. So they came back from that. They played pretty good hockey in all 3 of those games. Maybe that Carolina game was a little squeamish. But anyway, coming to San Jose, and they looked like they were bats out of hell right out of the gate. Now, how much was that the Flyers? How much was that with how incompetent San Jose is? I call it a little bit of both. But, first period, Eric Johnson snipes one on the rush with a pass from Anthony Richard, who, FYI, has been such a pleasant surprise since he's been called up. He looked good in the AHL. He hasn't looked like he's missed much of a beat here in the NHL. I think he's already got, 4 or 5 points? Like, he's looked good. He's looked very good. It was a good rush with him and Eric Johnson, probably the most unlikely 2-man rush on the Flyers in general. Maybe you threw Delorier in there, but besides the point. Scored early. Flyers jump out to a 1-0 lead, and they didn't let their foot off the throttle. They kept going in that first period. Played with some real tenacity. Travis Konechny buries a one-timer off a good cycling pass from Matvei Michkov. Gets his first assist from the healthy scratch, go up 2-zip. And again, great first period. They controlled the majority of play, moved into the second. Kind of transitioned over after they kill a penalty. Matvei Michkov gets a beautiful breakaway, beats a goalie 5-hole. I don't remember who was in net for San Jose that game, but he beats him 5-hole on the rush. Was cheating a little bit, I will say. Definitely was cheating on the rush a little bit, but it ended up paying off. Flyers go up 3-0, and then San Jose gets 1 goal off a kind of a broken play. And then the wheel starts cogging. As you mentioned, the second periods, yet again, is an issue for this team, where the first half of the second, they looked pretty good. But the second half, once that first goal went in, things started going a little squeamish. Urson let one of those 2 goals in that I looked at that he really should have stopped. That second one, got to make that save, man. Makes it 3-2 going into the third. And the Flyers, They kind of played just a back and forth game in that third period. They weren't that aggressive, but they weren't bad, and they weren't too conservative at the same time either. It was just a bunch of back and forth hockey. Not too much was happening. San Jose wasn't getting many shots on net. They weren't getting many shots. They had a chance to bury this game mid-third period with a power play. Couldn't quite do it. San Jose gets the kill. San Jose gets a power play with about 5 minutes to go. They couldn't do it. Flyers get the kill. Next pulled, and San Jose gets a weird bounce that leads to a player getting an open ice shot for the Sharks to tie the game at 3. I'm trying to remember who it was for San Jose that got the game tying goal. I'm blanking a little bit here. Who the freak was it? Hold on. I'm going to look at that because that's going to bother me if I remember who it was. Barclay Goodrow, that's who it was. Goodrow gets a broken pass where the shot was blocked. The puck goes right to his stick, pots into an empty net. No blame on Urson for that. Now it's just a bunch of wrong place, wrong time situation. Game goes into OT. And listen, as much as I love Matvei Michkov, there is one issue I've had with him since he's been here, and he takes a lot of penalties. And, it's always good to have that extra edge. It's good not to be pushed around. It's good to have some snarl. But there's times and places and times you want to have that. A game tied at 3 at the end of regulation, going to OT, you take a roughing penalty that you really shouldn't have took. And, I don't know how much that was a penalty, but why take the chance? I kind of think that call was kind of bogus, just as much as I thought the cross-check was in that Ottawa game was bogus. But whatever. Still, don't even take the chance is my point. Flyers are forced to go on the kill in overtime. Thankfully, they kill it off with some good saves from Urson there. Push it to a shootout. Flyers had some chances in 4-on-4, but couldn't bury one. But thankfully, the shootout, they did what they needed to do. Michkov got the game winner on an absolute beauty. Flyers technically won that shootout 2-0, but that was technically the game winner. Then you move on to Ottawa, where you're hoping, okay, maybe some of this momentum moves over after you now on a 3-game point streak. And they got a quick goal from Sanheim early in that game, just like the San Jose game. One-timer beating Ullmark, and a shot I think Ullmark should have stopped. Wasn't really that scream, but whatever. Flyers jump out to a 1-0 lead, and then suddenly they're incompetent in the offensive end. They can't get any pressure. The shots at one point, I think, were 3-3. After that, Ottawa got 23 of the next 24 shots on net. I want you to think about that. A 23-1 shot edge. I might be a little off on that, but I'm pretty sure it was 3-3. Maybe it was 3-2. But either way, I'm going to pretend it was 3-3 if I'm wrong. 23-1. You get outshot over the span of probably over a period and a half. That cannot happen. That is unacceptable in the NHL. That is unacceptable in the AHL. That is unacceptable in the ECHL, the WHL, the OCHL, college, Pee-wee, high school, you name it. That is fucking pathetic. I'm going to go into a further rant about this a little bit further later in the show. We're both going to. That's one of our topics is the Flyers' inability to fucking put shots on the net. But that is fucking inexcusable. To get outshot 23-1 over the span of over a period and a half. Somehow, despite that, they're only down 2-1. They only allowed 2 goals in this. Ivan Fedotov, mind you, this game was great. I don't care if he allowed 4 goals. The goals he allowed, I don't blame him. Maybe one of them he could have potentially saved. That there was a little bit of debate maybe on that first goal that Tkachuk scored. I blame that more on TK kind of losing his man, but it is what it is. They allowed 2 power play goals. I never blame the goalie on a power play unless if he lets in a really bad softie, and neither of them were. But the team was only down 2-1 when Travis Konecny buries that breakaway goal. Also a little bit cheating, but who gives a fuck? Ties the game at 2. Nothing really changes. Ottawa continues a high-octane blast. Shots are at one point, I believe, 32-10. So I'd say maybe it changed a little bit, but shots at 32-10 Ottawa, and they were up at one point 4-2. Then the Flyers fought back. They showed some snarl. They showed some resilience. As bad as they've been in second periods, they've showed some pushback in thirds. That's one positive I will give this team over the year. They showed some real pushback in third periods, and this was yet another example of that. You're down 4-2, and yet again, Anthony Richard shows his face with a great play, continues to be productive as a bottom 6 guy since he's been up here, and scores again. Second goal of the year, already more than Morgan Frost, mind you, who's played most of the year. Well, me and Jamey went on to a tirade about, so I'm not going to go too deep into him. But Anthony Richard was in a leaky one that Ullmark probably should have had, made it 4-3. Then on a rush, Bobby Brink buries a rebound to make it 4-4, probably about 2 minutes later. Second half, third period, they looked pretty good. And they took the game to overtime, and Fedotov, again, made some really good saves. He made one on a one-timer. I believe the Flyers won the kill, if I remember that period, in the overtime. Actually, no, I'm sorry, they weren't. That was only the San Jose game. But Ivan Fedotov made a really nice bar-to-bar one-timer save where he got the pad out. And that really stood out to me about halfway through the period. Before Matvei Michkov beats Ullmark on a very poor angle shot on the smallest of holes that, again, you can argue maybe Ullmark could have had. I put that on half on Ullmark, half on fantastic shot, Matvei Michkov. Again, 2 games, 3 points from Michkov as he comes back into the lineup. Tells Torts to suck his left taint and fucking plays fantastic. Outside the penalties, he needs to learn to chill on that a little bit. I agree that you want to play with the game with some edge and some grit, but there's also a line, and you want to keep putting your guys in the box. I don't blame him too much for his penalty on the cross-check this game because that was a fucking weak-ass call, and the team took 7 penalties anyway. Another thing I want to get into, stay out of the fucking box. As great as your PK is, you were on a great streak. You can't go in the box 7 times a game. I don't care if you're playing the San Jose Sharks or the Florida Panthers. Get in the box 7 times is a recipe for disaster. But anyway, Flyers look good. Ended up finding a way to get 2 points in a game they really didn't deserve it. The goaltending was a difference. Despite Fedotov allowing 4 goals, he looks a lot more confident. He faced a lot more shots. He had almost a 900 save percentage. I don't care what the statistics show. The eye test show he's playing a lot more confident these next 2 games. With that being said, let's segue into that Ivan Fedotov. Ever since that, I want to go a little bit further back than that. That second half of that Seattle game, he looked bad in that game. Don't get me wrong. But the kind of around the second half of that to the third period, he looked a little more comfortable in that. He made one really big save I want to go back to in that West Coast road trip. But he didn't play again after that until then. They brought up Kolosov, and I was ready to say, okay, Fedotov, I don't want him to get another chance right now. I don't care how he played in that Seattle game. But he kind of took the confidence from that and led him into the Tampa game. And he looked great in that Tampa game. Maybe the second best goaltending performance any Flyers goalie has had all year. He was the only goal he allowed was a bad one on Kucherov. I don't want to get too much into last week, but he was fantastic in that game nonetheless. Comes into this Ottawa game, he does allow 4 goals, but he made a lot of big saves. He looked a lot more confident. He played the position well. He was big in the net. He wasn't allowing these stupid goals over the shoulder. When you're a 6'8" goalie is inexcusable. That's not giving whatever height he is on his skates. But if you're being beat side to side as a big goalie like that, that's one. I get that. You're a bigger body. It's a little slower to move post to post. But he made one fantastic save in that overtime where he moves post to post and gets his pad out. And I look at that and I'm like, this guy has turned a corner. So I don't want to go too much in depth into it. Let me let you get some words in. How do you feel about Ivan Fedotov right now? In my opinion, I think he's turned a corner. Do you agree?
Well, look, I think yes. I think he's starting to show something right now. And like you said, like the Tampa game, I remember watching it, and I think I have a stat line rated. Yeah, the Tampa, he had a 957 save percentage, incredible, And then so like over his last 2 games, I think it was Jordan Hall that put it out. Over his last 2 games, he has like a 2.32 goals against average and a 917 save percentage. Good. That's great. Like if he could keep up these numbers, that'd be awesome.
Not to mention he was good in the shootout in that Tampa game too. He went 2 for 2 in net against a team that has done nothing but scores.
No, I thought that Tampa game. I remember watching it and I was a bit concerned. I'm like, oh man, okay, look, I think Urs got hurt, right? And then I think Kolosov had played 2 in a row at that point. And so I guess they had no choice, right? You got to put him in, and so you're crossing your fingers, man. Like, come on, let's, And no, you got to give it to him. He's starting to fix those little mistakes that he used to make. I thought he was going down way too slow. He was maybe just not seeing the shots fast enough, so he's going down slow. And because he's such a big guy, right? Is his 5-hole is going to be bigger than most other goalies. It's going to take him longer to close the pads. So, and he was getting beat a lot 5-hole. I'm like, come on, man. You're so big. Even if you go down before you even see the shot, you're so big, it's probably going to hit you anyway. So I think, look, he's probably worked that time off that he had while Kolosov was playing and Erson was playing. He probably, worked on things that he had to work on. Because, look, at the end of the day, the guy's coming from Russia. And I get, a lot of people are saying, yeah, but now the rinks are the same size, so it shouldn't be an issue. The game in Russia is completely different. The NHL is north-south. Russia's east-west. They play a completely different game. It's different angles. You're looking for different things. So now he has to adapt to the new game. And look, you can't expect him to do it after 1 or 2 games. The guy had no AHL time. He came straight to the Flyers.
In the middle of a playoff hunt, nonetheless, too.
Well, I think you're talking about Kolosov.
I'm sorry. Yeah, you're talking about Kolosov. I thought you were talking about Fedotov. I apologize.
Oh, no, okay. No. I misunderstood what you're trying to say. Yeah, in a playoff, to chase the playoff. Okay, yes, exactly. So yeah, it came in a bad situation too, right?
Mhm.
Like you said, we're trying to make the playoffs. Carter Hart's gone. Urs has been playing God knows how many games at that point. We had nobody to back him up, so it's like throw him into the fire. Okay, let's see what you
Mhm.
got. So look, so far I've liked the like. Look, I watched the Tampa game. He looked great in the Tampa game.
Mhm.
I couldn't watch the Ottawa game, but I saw the highlights. He looked good. Like you said, he made some incredible saves. So far right now, what I see, it's positive. So hopefully, like I'm thinking right now, he's reclaimed, I guess, like the backup position. So we'll see.
And I agree. Like, you know what's telling to me? They're going to him again tonight in net. So we're recording
Mhm.
this prior to the Sabres game. So this will be released on Sunday. So the result of that game will be already determined by the time this is out. But what's showing to me is they went to him last night in that Ottawa game. They have every opportunity to go to Kolosov. He's now not played the last two games. And Torrance is looking at him and said, "No, Fedotov, you're going again. You're my guy. I have faith in you. You looked good in that last game.
Mhm.
You're starting to show some confidence in that Tampa and Ottawa game. I trust you again to go against Buffalo." And that's no knock on Kolosov.
No.
Kolosov has actually not been too bad either. But when you're looking at this bit in the big picture, you want to ride the hot hand for the time being. And right now, Fedotov, the last couple games, and again, that's not a knock on Kolosov because I think he's been better too. But the last couple games, Fedotov has been better. He has earned this. He kept them in the game against Ottawa. He was the main reason they won against Tampa. And you look at the big picture. It's like in this situation, you want to show this guy that, hey, listen, we know we benched you earlier in the year, and you had some time to recalibrate over those 2 weeks. You didn't really play, but we want to reward you for your good play. You're the guy right now until Sammy's back. You're
Mhm.
the guy we're going to look at and say, you know what, Ivan, you're getting 60% of the starts. Now, I completely anticipate probably Kolosov getting the game after this.
Probably.
I think it's against Colorado on Monday, but I
Yeah.
expect Kolosov to get the Colorado game. But well, the big things that have stood out to me is as I mentioned prior, he's not getting beat over the shoulder anymore.
No.
That's huge. If you're a 6'8" player, you can't get beat there. At that size, that's where you looked at it. It's like it's going to be impossible to snipe, almost impossible to snipe the corners. You can't play small in that at that size, and he's showing that. And another thing is he's playing his positioning well. He doesn't look uncomfortable. Before, anytime he made a save, he looked like a fish out of water. He was sprawled. He looked anxious. He looked shaky, unsure if he was playing the right position. He was like over. He kind of had the jitters a little bit. I think is a good way to
Mhm.
put it. He didn't have the confidence. It was a mental thing more than a physical. Like he was playing the positions poor, but he didn't have some confidence in himself. That Tampa game made him look at this and said, holy shit, this is one of the best teams in the NHL over the last decade. They
Mhm.
won 2 cups with the majority of this core. And I just stole them to a goal. And the only guy who scored on me was a guy who friggin' was second in the MVP race last year. I,
Yeah.
I can maybe I can do this. Comes into Ottawa, who you and I both have high expectations for. The last 2 years I thought Ottawa was going to make the playoffs. I didn't make that mark anymore because I don't think it's a talent issue there. I think it's a internal issue with that organization. But they're playing better than they were the last 2 years so far.
Mhm.
They outplayed the crap out of the Flyers. But Ivan Fedotov kept them in the game. That game could have easily been like 8-9-1, realistically, the way that game went. If Fedotov played like the Fedotov we saw on that West Coast trip, they would have lost that game 9-1 or something like that, or 9-2. But no, he played great. He made the big saves. And confidence in this situation can take you a long way. You ride a hot goalie, your team could get on a little bit of a run. Even if it's not a long-term thing, just long enough for Sammy Erson to get back. Fedotov, say he plays 3 out of the next 4 games and plays good in 2 of them.
Mhm.
Flyers get points in 3 out of the next 4 games. Maybe they go 2-1-1. Suddenly this team that would put them 9-3. And the way the East is shaping up, you're right
Yeah.
in the mix of things. I gotta say, last week, 2 weeks ago when me and you talked, we went over that trip just because of the fact of what we had in net. We didn't have high
Mhm.
expectations for that trip. We had them at 1-2. I had them winning that Tampa game, but like 6-5, I say. I thought it was going to be a lot of leaky goals. No, they won that 2-1 in a defensive battle. Then me and Jamey made predictions for the games last week. He had them at 1-2. I had them at 2-1, but I also had them losing the. I think I had them losing the Ottawa game. I know I had them at 2-1. I don't remember if I had them losing the Ottawa or the Buffalo game, which one was which, but I had them at 2-1. I think it was the Ottawa, but anyway, not to go too far off track. I had them at 2. I believe losing the Ottawa game, just in general, or struggling in that game, and they did, but they found a way to win. And I don't know what to expect tonight in Buffalo. I don't think Tage Thompson is playing for them, so we'll see how that goes. And usually teams who are missing their star players find a way to wake the fuck up against the Flyers. So I thought that they lose this game 5-1. But, I will say this. Before I looked at Fedotov in the situation and said, is this guy going to give us a chance? Is he going to crumble under pressure the moment he allows a bad one in? Or is he going to take a deep breath and say, I got this? Short-term memory loss. Who gives a shit? Everyone allows bad ones in here and there.
Yeah.
I don't feel that way anymore. I look at Fedotov and I look at him and I say, he gives us a chance to win. If he's playing the way that we expected and make that transition over the NHL, in which did take him time, as you mentioned, and you made a fabulous point about that, the north to south versus east to west tenacity of the game, I think it's showing. And his team, and one last thing to add to this, the team is playing better in front of him. Not the Ottawa game, but that Tampa game, they played better in front of him. And they showed that maybe that will show some confidence that the players can say, you know what, maybe I can take a few more chances offensively. Maybe I can establish more of a forecheck and know that my goalie can make a save or two. Maybe I can take a risk on a play and potentially lead to a 2-on-1. If not, maybe it's a 3-on-2 the other way. I know that Fedotov, his rebound control has gotten better too. I didn't even mention that. But his rebound control, he's not letting these loose pucks right in front of the slot be tapped in from 8 feet away. He's kicking them off to the boards, which is something I want to mention as well. But I know that my goalie can make a save and kick one out to the boards. I like what I've seen in Fedotov. I think he's going to continue to get better. And maybe, maybe they run a 3-goalie committee all year like Montreal did last year. Who knows? It's going to be interesting.
Well, look, at the same time, too, right? Like, our goalies are kind of getting nicked up every once in a while. Like, this is the second time that Erson's get hurt. Kolosov got hurt a while back. He's been off for a couple days. So I think we're probably going to have to run 3 goalies all year, like you said. But, like, not out of because we can't send one down. It's just because health, maybe. Who knows?
That's a very good point that you mentioned. This is the second time Erson had the groin. And I put a tweet out about this saying, is this going to be something that is going to follow him all year? Groin issues are a bitch. They are a fucking bitch. Not to pardon my French, but these things can linger. They can be tweaked so easily, especially as a goalie when you depend a lot on your lateral side-to-side movement and leg stretching. One little awkward movement, like you saw in that Bruins game, it can go out of proportion. You're on the shelf for 2 weeks again. I do worry about that. And maybe they should tell Sammy, listen, you came back after 2 games the first time. You only missed about a week, and, you tweaked it again. Maybe this time, we got 2 other goalies that we look at that we feel like that we can depend on. We don't need to rush you like last time. Take an extra week this time. Maybe 10 days, an extra 10 days. Week and a half, 2.5 weeks instead of 1 week this time. Let him heal up. I have faith that Fedotov and I have faith that Kolosov can come in and at least be productive enough where I look at them and say this team can potentially win a game with them now at least.
Yeah.
But Eric, anything else to add before we move on to our next topic that I'm a little more frustrated about?
No, but just quick, like you were saying, like with groin injuries. Look, I'm pretty sure I said this on the pod before. Like I've been suffering from like a groin injury for like 15 years. Like they don't go away. And the worst part is they'll flare up at any given moment for whatever reason, So like you said, if Fedotov and Kolosov could hold on the fort for even like a couple weeks, buddy, like Erson, just take it easy. Don't worry about it. We got this, and come back 100% healthy, man. That'd be great.
Yeah. One last thing to add. If you asked me 2 weeks ago to put a percentage chance of this team making the playoffs, I would have put it like 5. Now, the way they're playing, I know it's maybe I'm heat of the moment a little bit.
Yeah.
The center depth's still an issue. Maybe
Huge.
20. Maybe 20. I don't know. We'll see.
I'm still like maybe like 10%.
Yeah, he went up from 5 to 10. It's a double. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe 20 is a little too optimistic. Some of Jamey's rubbing off him. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll drop it to about 15.
Like
I'll meet you in the middle.
I'm a pretty optimistic guy, but I think like we said also before, like a lot of the teams that were worse than us last year did kind of get better, like Ottawa, and so we'll see though. But like, hey, then these next 3-4 games will give me a more clear picture.
Well, I think we ask this question again a month from now around Thanksgiving, not Thanksgiving time, but maybe 1st of December. We'll have a real idea if this team's really able to push for a playoff spot or not. But anyway, let's move on to our next topic. One of the big issues with this team compared to last year has just been in general their 5-on-5 play. They haven't been as dominant. Their forecheck hasn't been as strong. But the biggest issue is they're not getting shots on net. So I'm looking at this right now. Last year, they were one of the top teams in the league in shots per game. I think they were definitely top 10, if not top 10, maybe top 12, something like that. They were able to consistently put pressure on net where they were at least able to, even if they were low quality shots, make team goalies make saves. They were probably in the low 30s. I don't know the exact number. And it felt like they were getting about 31, 32 shots a game last year. This year, they've taken a big step back there. I feel like you're looking at this team. They put up 25 shots in a night. It's a decent night for them. They're not getting as much rubber to the net. And not quality in that situation is going to lead to less goals just in general. So, Eric, let me start with you. What do you think is the biggest issue as to why this team's not getting the shots on net? Is it the second period struggles? Is it the lack of forecheck? Is it the fact that this team just hasn't been able to mesh, the lack of center depth? What do you think?
I think it's just multiple issues. It's just like, look, like you were saying, like last year, yeah, I think we were like in the top 10 in shots per game. But if I'm not mistaken, also last year, towards the end of the year, especially when we started dipping, it started to regress also last year. Mm-hmm. And look, I don't know I think maybe one of the biggest issues is that I think teams know the way we want to play. They know like the way we want to play that transition game. And I think they're just locking down that neutral zone, won't let us get up ice. Mm-hmm. Sometimes is it like the slow starts? Yeah. How many games have we had where they start the game and they're not in it? They'll have like by the mid-second period they're at 5, 6 shots. How? Like it doesn't make sense. Like, so these slow starts, like, is it also like chemistry? Like at one point, remember like when Torts kept on juggling the lines where it's like, so you have guys that maybe aren't comfortable playing with each other just yet. And it's like, you see it like passes are just a little off. They're a little too ahead of the player, a little behind the player. Yeah. Because like, look, is losing Sean Walker that big of an impact on this team? Like, I really like Sean Walker, and look, he's doing great in Carolina. But you can't tell me that Jamie Drysdale can't do what Sean Walker did. Like, so I honestly I don't know, because like, look, I did a little tally. We've played 17 games so far this season. We've had 4 games where we've had 20 or less shots total in the game. And 1 where we had 21. So
we'll say 5.
Yeah, exactly. So like then you have like if I'm not mistaken, it was the Minnesota game and that second Washington game where we ended up with just over 20 shots. Mm-hmm. But like they didn't have 10 shots until like midway or like past the second period.
So that Minnesota game, they didn't have 10 shots until the third. They had 6 shots in the first 2 periods.
That's it, And I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was that Washington game, they had 6 up until like halfway through the second, mm-hmm. and then they finally decided to wake up, and they ended up with 29 shots. Yeah, that means they had like 20 shots in half an hour. Where were you the first half hour of that game? Mm-hmm. So I think it's just like a mix of everything: the slow starts, line juggling, chemistry. So, but like they got to figure this out because you can't win consistently if you're having like 20 between on average like say 20 to 25 shots. Like you can't. It's just impossible.
No, I entirely agree with that. So one thing I did a little tally as well on this. So through the entirety of last year, the Flyers were actually third in the league in the NHL in shots per game. They averaged 33.02 shots per game. So we'll say 33 for argument's sake. They averaged, I think they ended with 231 goals, if I remember correctly. I know it was 2.81 goals a game. Here's the difference this year. Now, the goals isn't as staggering. Wait till you hear the shots. So through 17 games, this team is averaging 26.71 shots a game. So if you average that, we'll say 27 to round it up. That's 6 shots less a game. That's a significant difference. So when you put that in the goal perspective, they've scored 46 goals so far in 17 games. You divide that, that's 2.70 goals a game. Not as big of a difference as I figured to see, but still it is a difference. And at some point, you're going to look at this and say, is this team just going for quality over quantity, not taking the shots that they were last year? Are they not playing as aggressive and looking for the pretty shot versus a greasy shot? So I go into a few big pictures. This team has been juggling lines all year, and I absolutely agree with you 100% here, Eric. They have been juggling lines. It's like a game of craps. Like they're just throwing the dice out there and seeing what the hell pops up and just saying, okay, run with that. Run with this. Run with this. Anytime this team loses a game, you're looking at different lines every single time. Anytime the team wins a game, they run in the same lines. That's Torch philosophy. It never fails. If this team loses a game, more times than not, someone different's going to get scratched. Not always, but more times than not. Like there'll be maybe some examples where not everyone was. But for example, another thing I want to mention is I don't think they're being as sturdy on the forecheck. And a big reason of that is I don't think they have the girth they had last year. They have the second smallest team in the NHL. Going into the average weight of the Flyers is 194 pounds. That's 31st in the league. Only the Colorado Avalanche had a smaller size. This year, I mean, I don't know what it was last year, but I feel like you had Delorier in the lineup more often. And while he's not much of an offensive threat, he's physical. He's with more snarl. That's definitely a thing. You lose Sean Walker. He was a big body. He blocked a lot of shots. That's something to keep an eye on. You had a Jamey Drysdale, who's not the biggest body in the world for half of the year last year. That probably added to it as well. So combination of things just in general. And then obviously you had Matvei Michkov, who isn't the biggest body in the world either. He's probably about 180 pounds. But this team, I think, one of the big things they need to do in free agency is they got to add some size. Year. They have to add some size. You know, it's always good to play with speed and skill. But if you're going to get bullied around, you're not going to have the puck in the offensive end more that often. Teams are going to body you off the puck and be able to clear the puck with relative ease. Teams' defensemen are going to be able to clear the puck without much effort. You look at the Carolina Hurricanes, for example. That's a team with some bodies, with some snarl. That's a team you're going to go into a friggin' chest battle. I mean, battling with all chest shots. They're going to win 9 times out of 10 when it comes to that. If you're going to play the physical game with them. We're going to see them on Wednesday. By the way, everyone, just to throw this out there, we are having a live stream on Wednesday of the Carolina Hurricanes and Philadelphia Flyers game. Tune into that. Both me, Eric, Jamey, and the rest of the Pucking Around crew will be there. Going to be a lot of us. It's going to be a good time, so tune in for that. Just wanted to throw that out there, a little bit of advertisement. Can be seen on a YouTube channel, PAP Media 24, or the Pucking Around pod, DPWM Media. Check it out on YouTube. Anyway, but I look at this and just say, you need to add some size. You need to let these guys get some chemistry, and you need to just shoot pucks. Flat out, plain and simple. Wayne Gretzky's saying comes true to fruition here. 100% of the shots you don't take don't go in. Quantity over quality sometimes is better because you never know what could happen. You get a juicy rebound you can put on that. You get a redirection. Maybe a shot goes off of someone's ski, screen the goalie, and maybe a plot put over the top shelf that you didn't expect to go in. You never know. You never know. Put the puck on net for them. Give the goalies a reason to make a save. Give the defenseman a reason to move around. Make them skate more. Make them have to move around more. Wear them down, especially guys with size. They're going to wear down a little bit, skating around aimlessly. If you want to have this small lineup, let your speed be an example to a benefit to you by making them skate more, and your skill be a benefit to you. Let your wingers outskate them. You're not playing a physical game. You have to play a finesse game and make them wear down. Now, that's going to be easier said than done, because any type of board battle, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get bodied off the puck, that type of size. But at least make them skate. Put shots on net. Make them worry. Let these guys gain some chemistry. And for the love of God, Morgan Frost win an offensive zone faceoff, please. I'm still adamant about that.
Yeah. No, 100%. Like, listen, like, and even just, and I've had this conversation on Twitter, actually, just like last week or something. It's like, I find also we have too many of the same players on this team.
Agreed.
And,
yes.
And at the same time, too, and we don't really have true play drivers. So that could also, like, take into account for our lack of shots. And it's like, when you have too many of the same, and you're all trying to do the same thing at the same time, and it's like, even sometimes they're getting too cute. Like you said before, too, just shoot the puck. Just shoot the puck. Mm-hmm. Like, you have a clear shot of the net, but no, he's going to try and make that pass into the slot, and then what happens? Oh, turnover, back the other way. So that's it. Like, don't get too cute. Don't overthink the game. The game is simple. Put shots on net, hope for the rebound, dirty goals. Especially if you're like, you don't have the most talented teams, then you got to play dirty. You want to play a little bit more dirty, you want to play a little bit more of an edge, you need some bigger guys too. So, and like I said, it's a big issue too. We're very small. And like, we have too many smaller wingers. We don't have any power forwards. Like, Owen Tippett is probably the biggest guy, but he doesn't play that power game.
Yeah.
It's not his game, and that's fine. Look, you could be big and not play a power game. That's fine. Like, he does his job, and he's been heating up too, so that's great. But like, yeah, I think this offseason we really have to, either in the draft or free agency or through trade, we got to get bigger. Bring in at least one power forward. Because like, look, I always thought, like, man, this is a philosophy I had since I was young. The ideal line has one power forward, one playmaker, and one sniper. Because look, everyone has a role on that line. And if you have too many shooters on the same line, or you have too many playmakers on the same line, it doesn't gel properly. And we just need more of a balance on this team. That's it.
Exactly. And you can't let it, the closest thing you have to that, you mentioned Owen Tippett. I mentioned even Sean Couturier to an extent too. He plays in front of them. They've been using him as a net front presence this year. He's he still has the mind of an elite two-way forward, and he's been better. He has definitely been better over the last handful of games for sure. I'm feeling more comfortable with Coots. He's getting his game going a little bit, but he can't be a guy that you throw into the boards constantly, especially with the amount of back surgeries he had. He had core muscle surgery, because this guy's going to be worn down in the second half again. You can't do that. You can't throw this. You can't have Sean Couturier be your power forward. You need to get a guy like a Wayne Simmons, like what James Van Riemsdyk used to be. Guys like that who are going to be gritty, battling in front of the net, winning those puck battles at the boards. You need some size. You need some girth. And you also need, you mentioned play driver. That's a fantastic point. That's what Morgan Frost is supposed to be. Yeah. And he has been, I'm sorry, I like the guy. Unless if he pulls a complete 180, I am sold that this might be his last year. Like, he needs, I think Luchenko is going to end up taking a spot next year. I don't want to go too deep into that because that's not one of our topics today. We talked a lot about Morgan Frost last week, but as a play driver, that's Morgan Frost's role, and he has not been that. And now he's been healthy scratched. If Couturier plays tonight, he's going to be healthy scratched again. So this is a guy you're looking at. It's like he's not producing, and it's a trickle effect down the rest of the lineup in that aspect of things. You're going to have to move Scott Lawton into a second line center role, and he's not that at this stage. No. Ryan Poehling, yeah, he's got some speed, but he doesn't have the skill to be consistent everyday second line center. Hell no. I mean, and do you really want to throw Coots at the 1C constantly? Probably not. You don't want to wear this guy 18, 19 minutes a game, because you saw what happened in the second half of the year last year. He fell off a cliff. And you don't want that to happen again. I agree wholeheartedly. They need to go get themselves a power forward, preferably a center, that can win some faceoffs, win some battles on the board, battle in front of the net, redirect some shots, help keep the puck in the offensive zone for longer than 20 seconds. That's what it comes down to. Who they go after is, I don't know. But they need to, that's their biggest need, in my opinion, is a power forward center. At least for now. Draft another one this year, and we'll see where things go. But the gaping hole they have at center is so large. I anticipate Luchenko being here as a full-time guy next year, and he'll probably fill the role of Morgan Frost, but you still need another one.
Oh yeah, no, like look, I think I even put this out on Twitter like yesterday or something the other day. Like we literally have to have like the worst center depth in the league. Like even San Jose has like at least they have Macklin Celebrini and Will Smith that have potential to be like top 2 centers in the league. You know, like we have Coots who at this point should like he's playing like a 2C right now. I have to say
That's
like
probably what he is.
Yeah, like but like ideally you want Coots to be your 3C. Ideally, that like if you want to win, if we want to win the next few years, like he's going to be your ideal 3C. But like we have nobody else. Like you said, like Morgan Frost too. Like I didn't get a chance to go on my rant. I'm not going to go on a rant about Morgan Frost because that might take about 10, 15 minutes. And but like
I'll give you 2. Go ahead.
Look. He started the season off so well. I thought like the first 3 games he was playing really well. I'm like, okay, this is fine because this is the year for him. This has to be the year for Morgan Frost because now he can't use you can't use the injuries as an excuse anymore. You can't use the development COVID seasons anymore. It's 3 seasons now that he's showing a little bit, but now like we need him to be at least a middle 6 center, and right now he's playing like a 3C at best. I think he needs a change of scenery. I think the best thing for him and for the Flyers would be like if they could find some kind of trade, change of scenery trade. Hopefully, maybe like with Anaheim and Zegras, maybe you can package him with something else and try and get Zegras here because maybe they both need.
There's another guy who needs a change of scenery, as you mentioned, Zegras for sure.
Exactly. Who knows? But we have to address the center position. I like Luchenko. I saw what I've seen from Luchenko when he was here. Right now, look, he's killing it in over in the OHL. So that's great. So like, if he could be our 2C, Coots could be our 3C. Now we just got to find our 1C.
Exactly. You know, you mentioned Zegras, maybe a change of scenery there. A Dylan Cousins type would be fabulous. Imagine getting him from Buffalo. You remember the last time they traded a center that wasn't performing well in Buffalo? I think his name was Sam Reinhart.
Yeah.
He's doing all right in Florida right now. Or maybe a Marco Rossi. I don't know. I doubt Minnesota would be able to move him. But just throwing names in a dartboard. Marco Rossi is probably like the dream, unlikely one. But they need a 1C. They need someone. But anyway, let's move on to the following week here. I'm not going to touch the Buffalo game because me and Jamey did that last week.
Okay.
So let's talk about the Monday. I think they have 3 games this week: Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. Oh no, Monday, Wednesday, Saturday. At home against Colorado, home against Carolina, and then who the hell was Saturday?
Home against Chicago.
Chicago. Thank you. That's the last one. Give me a prediction, Eric.
Ooh. Well, it sucks that we have to play Colorado now because they just seem to get everybody healthy at the same time.
And when we play them, go figure.
Yeah, exactly. You know, Miles Wood came back, Joy came back, Lehkonen came back, and
they're still struggling. They're 9-9. So
yeah, but so they just came back, so now they're gonna. So look, I think we're gonna lose to Colorado. I don't think we win against Colorado. Carolina, maybe a revenge game. Who knows? Maybe we're at home. Like maybe we deserve the better fate. Although like that game against Carolina, I thought the third period they just dominated us so bad. And then Chicago. Chicago's going to be interesting because it's going to be Matvey versus Bedard there. That's going to be an interesting game, you know. So if I have to guess, I'm going to say we lose to Colorado. We probably lose to Carolina, but it's going to be a tight game, maybe an overtime or shootout. And I think we beat Chicago.
1-1.
1-1-1. I'm going 1-1-1 again. Maybe the easy answer, but you know what?
Hey, that's all. Okay. Listen, this is your prediction. I don't judge. In fact, it's fair. It's a fair analysis. Games ahead. So starting off at home against Colorado, I'm going to be a shocker. I'm going to say they win this game. I'm going to say I know Colorado just got healthy. I don't like the way the Avalanche are playing right now. I really don't. I don't think I think they're a one and done exit this year at best. I really do. I think they have so many injuries. They have so many cap issues. Nathan McKinnon and Cale Makar and Rantanen can only do so much. The goaltending might be the worst in the league. You want to talk about a goaltending carousel. What's going on in Colorado is a horror show. But I think the Flyers win a high-scoring game with them, like 6-4. Second game against Carolina, I'm going to say they lose that. I don't know why. Carolina just has our number. I'm going to give Hurricanes a 4-3 win on that one. This time we'll actually be able to see goals in a live stream, though, at least.
Hopefully.
We did in the Vancouver game. We did the home opener. And then Chicago, I think they win that one in a gritty 2-1 game. So I'm going to put them at 2-1 this week. But we'll see. If they can build off this and we see where we go from here, maybe this team's ready to take another step. Maybe they can push for a wild card. Who knows? I'm still not optimistic. You're still not optimistic. Not even the king of optimism, Jamey's optimistic. But, if they have another good week, we can approach this and see where they're at. But anyway, Eric, any closing thoughts before we wrap things up this week?
I just want to say, hopefully, look, we talked about before with the second periods and everything. Because look, with the 3-game, especially with the first 2 teams that we're gonna play, a lot of firepower on those teams. If we have sluggish starts, sluggish second periods, we're probably gonna get killed. So I'd like to see that improve. The power play, it's still decent, but let's get it back on track a little bit. The numbers have been dipping a little bit. And I'm just looking forward to some good hockey. Look, we're playing some pretty good teams. It's pretty interesting games to watch, some good players to watch, and I'm pretty excited about this week.
I agree. The team's been playing better the last 5 or so games. They're currently on a 4-game point streak. I think it's 4 game. Yeah, 4-game point streak. 3-0-1 in their last 4. Hopefully they can keep it going again tonight against Buffalo. It's a team that I think they took, 2 out of 3 from last year. The team that was part of that horrific 8-game losing streak. So hopefully they can play with a little bit of snarl, get a dub tonight. But give us everyone give us a follow here, like, comment, subscribe. Give us a shout out to our sister stations, Don't Puck with Media, Hibernation. Check out Cam and Vogel, who talk about that every week. Talking Habs over in our sister channel with the Hab Normal podcast, where Nordy and Rick go into the Montreal Canadiens and their adventures, or horror show in this case this year. They've been rough. They're the worst team in hockey right now. I feel bad for them. I thought they were going to take a step, but not to go too much into that. But anyway, that's all for this week. We appreciate you guys joining each and every week. Love you guys. And one final shout out to our other co-host, Jamey. We look forward to seeing you Wednesday and hopefully next week. But that'll do it for this week. We thank you all for showing up. As always, hopefully we got another good week of hockey. Hopefully this team can get a couple dubs again. But with all that being said, see y'all next week. And let's go Flyers.